No, Valerie, I'm not okay. There's a criminal standing in my kitchen threatening me. He's a wanted man, and his name is Saul Goodman.
All right, Marion, I'm calling the police. I'm calling right now.
Hey, what is up? So for this video, I want to discuss the teaser trailer for the final episode of Better Call Saul as a series entitled Saul Gone. But anyway, getting right into this one, while this teaser was accidentally leaked last week, as I discussed in a previous video,
Hoover, max extract pressure, Pro Model 60. Hoover, pressure Pro, max extract, Model 60.
now following us seeing how the previous episode entitled Waterworks ended, I now want to try to surmise what could potentially be the storyline of this final episode following Gene Takovic's identity getting made by Marion at the end of that episode, who calls the police via her life alert monitor and states that Saul Goodman, the notorious criminal, is in her home, which of course was immediately followed by Saul, aka Gene, aka Jimmy, fleeing Marion's home and thus ending the previous episode. And of course, while there's absolutely no way of knowing what this final episode will have in store for us, just using this dialogue that we hear in this teaser of Saul Goodman muttering to himself, Hoover Max Extract Pressure Probe Model 60, of course, the phrase which he needs to state in order to use the services of Ed the Disappearer, it definitely seems like to me that Saul, following his identity getting made, is attempting to once again flee Omaha as he did previously Albuquerque by using the services of Ed the Disappearer, which of course is in many ways ironic because we saw Gene call Ed the Disappearer following his identity getting made by Jeff in season 5 of Better Call Saul in the episode entitled Magic Man, and following him going about the logistics to use his services, he then, of course, changes his mind and says that he is going to handle it himself. So with the benefit of hindsight, it definitely seems as though Saul would have been much better served had he gone through with that original plan. But again, while it's impossible to know what was going through his head at the time, maybe hubris to an extent, or maybe him just not wanting to run anymore at the time. Just with all that being said, it definitely seems rather ironic that it appears that Saul really has no other choice here but to use Ed the Disappearer's services in order to avoid arrest and certainly a long prison stint. Now, of course, there's a lot of details here that need to be addressed in respect to this potential storyline. First of all, of course, it being the case that the actor Robert Forster, who portrayed Ed the Disappearer in Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, as well as El Camino, passed away in 2019, and therefore the actor cannot portray his character in this final episode. But at the same time, I have wondered about whether or not the creators could potentially use archival footage, perhaps, or maybe even using a different voice actor maybe to portray this character, or dare I say maybe even use CGI to have Robert Forster's Ed the Disappearer character appear in this final episode, kind of akin to the movie Rogue One, which featured the character Grand Moff Tarkin, who was portrayed by the actor Peter Cushing. But of course, when this film was being made, the actor Peter Cushing had passed away and therefore could not portray his character. But of course, this meant that Disney CGI'd his face onto a different actor in order to have this character appear in this movie, because this character was extremely crucial to the storyline that was written for this film. And again, while I'm not too sure about the ethical and legal ramifications of doing this in Better Call Saul, and whether or not this is even possible to do so just based on the budget of Better Call Saul, it's definitely interesting food for thought here to speculate on prior to the series finale of this upcoming episode. And of course, in addition to that, at the same time, in respect to what potential storyline could ensue here should this plot take place in the next episode, this definitely makes me think back to the movie El Camino, where Jesse Pinkman attempted to use the services of Ed the Disappearer, but did not have the proper funds in order to do so. And again, without having to rehash the entire plot of El Camino here. The point I'm trying to get at is, of course, following Saul having his identity made by Marion, he is in absolutely no position whatsoever to flee Albuquerque with the police already being called to Marion's house. Again, he has no preparations made currently. We don't even know if he has the proper funds to use Ed the Disappearer's services. We do not know what kind of cash he has on hand and whether or not he would even take the diamonds in the Band-Aid tin that we know Saul has as a means of payment for his services. Of course, Saul did acquire some cash when he was doing the identity fraud scam in the previous episode entitled Breaking Bad. But definitely many more questions than answers here in respect to the logistics of Saul even being able to call Ed the Disappearer and attempt to acquire his services with the police hot on his tail, which if he thought he was red hot when he first called Ed the Disappearer for himself in the flashback or flash forward scene, depending on your perspective, that took place in season 4 of Better Call Saul in the episode entitled Quite a Ride.
I need a new dust filter for my Hoover Max Extract Pressure Pro Model 60. Can you help me with that? A pickup. How hot? Red hot. I know where that is. I'll be there.
Then I truly don't know what this level of heat is for Saul Goodman if that had been red hot when he had enough time to call Ed before the police raided his office. So yeah, just some really interesting food for thought here in respect to this teaser. Of course, as I also have mentioned in all of the teasers that have been released for part 2 of season 6 of Better Call Saul, in many respects they have been created in order to misdirect the audience in making a coherent prediction on what is to come in the upcoming episode. Of course, I would be remiss if I also did not point out the fact that it definitely appears that Saul's Suzuki Esteem, which was shot at in the episode entitled Bagman, and then following this was pushed in a ditch by Saul and Mike. Of course, the very last time we saw the Suzuki Esteem took place in the following episode entitled Bad Choice Road, when Lalo Salamanca discovered the car following Jimmy and Mike pushing it in the ditch. And with it really sort of not making too much sense that this car here would have anything to do with Saul fleeing Omaha, it definitely seems to me that this scene may be displaying to us an example of, as Peter Gould himself has stated, running through the raindrops in respect to this final episode being just like the previous 2 episodes, where scenes from Saul Goodman's backstory in the plot of Breaking Bad, as well as maybe even the plot of Better Call Saul now, following this teaser being displayed to us, being juxtaposed and interwoven into the storyline of the black and white Gene Takovic timeline. So yeah, really curious to see what happens here in this final episode of the series. Again, at the same time, it should be noted that we have seen 2 teaser trailers that were released prior to the release of season 6 of Better Call Saul, as well as during the mid-season break, respectively. The first teaser, of course, being when Gene Takovic walks past a corkboard with a wanted poster for information leading to the arrest of Saul Goodman with a $5 million reward. He, of course, walks by this corkboard and rips down the poster. Of course, as I have discussed more in depth in a previous video, definitely based on the other posters on this corkboard, which are advertising events that are taking place in Albuquerque, New Mexico, it definitely seems as though this teaser is alluding to us that Gene Takovic will head back to New Mexico in this final episode, just based on the fact that this teaser has not been addressed so far. Additionally, the other teaser that I mentioned, of course, is the teaser of Kim Wexler stating the oath to become a lawyer.
I, Kimberly Wexler, do solemnly swear that as an attorney and as a counselor of this court, I will conduct myself uprightly and according to law. I will maintain civility at all times and abstain from all offensive personality. I will never seek to mislead the judge or jury by any artifice or false statement of fact or law, and that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Which we have not yet heard as of the conclusion of the previous episode of Better Call Saul. Of course, it definitely should be reminded that Kim left the law and is no longer a lawyer, which was displayed to us in season 6 of Better Call Saul in the episode entitled Fun and Games. And as the previous episode displayed to us, she currently works at a sprinkler company in Florida. But of course, as it was revealed to us in the previous episode that Jimmy and Kim are no longer married, as was displayed to us in the flashback scene in this episode, you do wonder if the stars will maybe align here for Kim Wexler to become a lawyer in some capacity, and maybe even theoretically represent Jimmy McGill should he be arrested by the police. Of course, just total speculation here. I could be wrong on this. At the same time, the lawyer that Saul gave to Francesca in the episode entitled Quite a Ride has not yet been addressed as well. And as I have discussed in a previous video, it definitely makes sense to me that this lawyer could be Kim Wexler.
Okay, when the cops come talk to you, and they will, what are you going to tell them?
Talk to my attorney.
Yeah. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
So again, just more food for thought here in respect to this final episode of season 6 of Better Call Saul and all of the plot details and teasers that have been displayed to us that have not yet been addressed as of the conclusion of the penultimate episode of season 6. So yeah, that's all I really got for you guys on this one. Definitely let me know what you think the ultimate fate of Gene Takovic may be in the final episode of the series that will premiere on Monday. Definitely even a little bit surreal to say that there's only one episode left in this series. Really looking forward to making many more videos and discussing this storyline this week prior to the premiere of that episode on Monday. And as always, my name is Anton Jackson. Thank you again so much for watching this video.